Imagine two guys with roughly the same body weight, the same height, and even a similar amount of muscle. But one of them looks significantly more athletic, more muscular, and more aesthetic. What changed? It might not be bigger arms. It might not even be a bigger chest. It could simply be the width of his shoulders. Because when your shoulders get wider, something interesting happens visually. Your waist appears smaller. Your upper body looks more powerful, and suddenly your entire physique starts taking on that V-taper shape that most guys are trying to build. And here's where a lot of people go wrong. They spend months doing push-ups for chest, curls for biceps, and random ab exercises expecting their physique to eventually look athletic. But if you're training at home and your goal is to create that broad, powerful upper body look, you can't just train whatever muscle is easiest to see in the mirror. You need to understand which parts of your shoulders factually create width. And the good news is, you don't need a fancy gym or a room full of equipment to start doing it. In this video, I'm going to show you 3 exercises that cover the major functions of your shoulders, explain exactly how to perform them, and most importantly, show you how to keep making them harder so your shoulders actually have a reason to grow. Because doing the same 20 reps forever isn't a workout plan, it's just doing 20 reps forever. So let's start with the movement that builds your shoulder foundation. Exercise 1. Pike push-ups. If you're training at home and you want a bodyweight exercise that actually challenges your shoulders, Pike push-ups are one of the first movements I'd put into your routine. Think about what happens during a normal push-up. Your body is relatively horizontal, so your chest and triceps do a huge amount of the work. Now change the angle. Instead of keeping your body straight, push your hips upward and create an inverted V shape. Suddenly, you're putting much more emphasis on pushing your body upward using your shoulders. And that's why Pike push-ups are so useful. They're basically a stepping stone toward vertical pressing. Here's how to perform them. Start in a push-up position and walk your feet slightly toward your hands. Then, drive your hips upward until your body resembles an upside-down V. From there, bend your elbows and slowly lower your head toward the floor, keeping your movement controlled. Then, press the floor away and return to the starting position. But here's the part that matters. Don't turn this into a race. If you drop your head quickly, bounce out of the bottom, and use your entire body to finish the rep, you're making the exercise easier, not harder. Instead, think about controlling the descent and actually feeling your shoulders working. For most beginners, somewhere around 3 sets of 6 to 12 quality repetitions is a great starting point. And if 6 reps sounds impossible right now, that's completely fine. You can make the movement easier by keeping your feet closer to the floor and reducing the range of motion. Then, as you get stronger, you can gradually increase the range of motion, slow down your repetitions, or elevate your feet. And eventually, you can work toward much more difficult variations. That's progressive overload. Your shoulders don't know that you completed a certain number of reps. They respond to the challenge you're giving them. So if the same exercise becomes easy, your job isn't to simply keep doing more and more meaningless repetitions. Your job is to make the movement harder. Now, Pike push-ups are excellent for building pressing strength and developing your shoulders, but there's one problem. They aren't the movement I'd rely on if your biggest goal is making your upper body look wider. Because for that, we need to focus on one particular part of the shoulder, and this next exercise does exactly that. Exercise 2. Lateral raises. Take a look at an athletic physique from the front. What creates that feeling of broad shoulders? One of the biggest contributors is the lateral portion of your deltoids. These muscles sit on the outer part of your shoulders, and when you develop them, they can add visual width to your upper body. And this is why lateral raises deserve a place in almost every home shoulder workout. You don't need heavy dumbbells either. You can use water bottles. You can use a backpack. You can use resistance bands. You can even start with very light objects if you're completely new to training. Because with lateral raises, the goal isn't to impress someone with how much weight you're holding. The goal is to make the target muscle do the work. Stand tall with your arms beside you. Keep a slight bend in your elbows and raise your arms outward until they're roughly around shoulder height. Then lower them slowly. Simple. But this exercise has one of the biggest technique traps in home workouts. People turn it into a full body movement. They swing the weights upward, lean backward, shrug their shoulders, and use momentum to get through the reps. And suddenly their side delts are doing less work, while everything else starts helping. So instead, use a weight or resistance that allows you to control the entire movement. Think about moving your elbows outward rather than simply throwing your hands upward. And don't worry if the weight feels ridiculously light. A properly performed lateral raise with a light resistance can be much harder than a sloppy lateral raise with something heavy. Start with roughly 3 sets of 10 to 15 controlled repetitions. And here's another important point. You don't necessarily need to add huge amounts of weight every week. Progression can come from several places. You can increase resistance, you can add repetitions, you can improve your range of motion, you can slow down the lowering portion, or you can simply make your technique more precise. The goal is to gradually give the muscle a bigger challenge over time. And if your goal is that classic V-taper, this is one of the exercises you don't want to overlook. But we're not done yet, because there's a part of your shoulder that most people barely think about, and ignoring it can leave your physique looking incomplete. Exercise 3. Rear delt fly. Turn around. Seriously. Because if you've spent your entire workout thinking only about what your shoulders look like from the front, you're missing half the picture. Your shoulders aren't just one giant muscle. The deltoid has different sections, including the rear portion located toward the back of your shoulder. And developing that area can help create a more complete, rounded upper body appearance. It also matters for your overall shoulder balance because you're training the muscles responsible for pulling your arms backward and outward. For a home version, you can use resistance bands, water bottles, light dumbbells if you have them, or even a backpack depending on how you set it up. Here's the basic movement. Hinge forward slightly at your hips while keeping your back controlled. Let your arms hang underneath you. Then move your arms outward, squeezing your shoulder blades gently as your arms travel away from your body. Pause briefly at the top, then lower the resistance under control. And once again, don't turn this into a momentum competition. If your entire torso is bouncing around just to move the weight, the resistance is probably too heavy. This movement usually works best when you use lighter resistance and focus on controlling every centimeter of the repetition. Think about your rear shoulders moving your arms rather than your hands simply swinging the weight. For beginners, 3 sets of 10 to 15 controlled reps is a solid place to start. And just like the other exercises, you can gradually make it harder. More resistance, more reps, better control, longer pauses, greater range of motion. The exact method matters less than the principle. You need to progressively challenge the muscle. Now, here's where these 3 exercises become much more interesting when you put them together, because we're not randomly picking 3 shoulder exercises. We're covering 3 different jobs. Pike push-ups give you your main pressing movement. Lateral raises put extra attention on the side delts that contribute heavily to visual shoulder width. And rear delt flies help develop the back portion of the shoulder for a more complete look. And when those areas develop together, something bigger happens. Your shoulders don't just become stronger. Your entire upper body starts looking different. Your chest can appear broader. Your waist can appear narrower. Your arms can look more impressive because they're sitting next to a larger shoulder structure. And your t-shirts can start fitting differently around the upper body. But there's one thing I don't want you to misunderstand. These exercises aren't going to magically transform your physique in 2 weeks. Muscle growth takes time. And your results will depend on your training, nutrition, recovery, genetics, and how consistently you actually apply progressive overload. But that's also why you shouldn't constantly jump from one exercise to another looking for a secret movement. You don't need a secret. You need a movement you can perform well, a resistance you can progressively increase, enough recovery, and months of consistency. And there's another mistake that can completely sabotage your results. Trying to train shoulders hard every single day. More isn't automatically better. Your muscles need recovery after training, so give them time to adapt instead of destroying them every day because you think more soreness means more growth. For a simple home shoulder routine, you could start with 3 sets of pike push-ups, 3 sets of lateral raises, and 3 sets of rear delt flies. Train them consistently as part of your overall routine, focus on quality repetitions, and gradually increase the challenge as your strength improves. And remember, if you don't have dumbbells, don't use that as an excuse. Grab 2 water bottles, fill a backpack, use resistance bands, start with body weight. The equipment is not the most important part. The the progression is, because here's the real secret behind building wider shoulders at home. It's not finding the most complicated exercise. It's taking a relatively simple movement and making it progressively harder while maintaining good technique. That's how you turn a home workout from random exercise into actual training. So if your goal is to build that wider, more athletic V-taper naturally, start with these 3 movements. Pike push-ups for your pressing strength, lateral raises for more visual shoulder width, and rear delt flies for a more complete, balanced shoulder. Master the technique first, then gradually increase the challenge and give your body enough time to adapt. Because you don't need to completely rebuild your workout every Monday. You just need to get a little stronger than you were before. And if you want to take this even further, the next thing you should focus on isn't just your shoulders. It's the entire upper body structure that makes your waist look smaller and creates that V-taper effect. That's where your back comes in. So watch the next video on screen because I'll show you how to build a wider V-taper at home without needing a gym or expensive equipment. I'll see you there.